Welcome to the exciting and new podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy. Oh, shit. No, I'm not. I'm Andy.
There he is.
Fuck.
And I'm Brian.
What am I doing over here?
Wow. That was a tough one there.
Coming in hot.
Why don't you tell everybody what we're going to talk about this week?
We're not talking about Superman 1.
Nope.
We're not talking about Superman 2.
Oh, no. Oh, Lordy, Lord, no.
We are talking about Superman 3. Now, I don't recognize this music because the movie I watched
Did not have this.
did not have this music in it.
Not to live. I went. That was one of the problems as I was going through to get the music firsthand, and I sat there and looked at the whole thing, and I clicked on wherever there was music, and it wasn't until the end of the movie.
Oh, they played this in the
They played this in the
See, I didn't even make
credits.
it that.
I turned it off, I guess. But this was insulting that they played whatever, like Danny Elfman.
There was so much. I had to
music in
go
this
through
start.
so much of it, and I was getting pissed.
This crap, yeah. Runs 2 hours and 4 minutes or 2 hours and 5 minutes, depending where you look. Released June 17th.
I'll take the 2 hours and 4 minutes. Thank you.
June 17th, 1983. Now, the director was Richard Lester, who had quite an impressive top four here. A Hard Day's Night, The Beatles. Yeah.
Really?
The
Okay.
Bed Sitting Room, The Three Musketeers, which was
Okay.
pretty big, and then Superman 3. But that, having Hard Day's Night and Three Musketeers, I thought was pretty impressive. But then, spoiler alert, he has Superman 3 on there.
I'm sure he did it for the money.
IMDb description.
Pay me.
Synthetic kryptonite laced with tar splits Superman in two. Good Clark Kent and bad Man of Steel.
Wow, that's like 75% into the movie that happens.
Clark travels to Smallville for his high school reunion and reconnects with his childhood sweetheart, Lana Lang. Double L's again. Computer programmer Gus Gorman, double G's, is hired by financial tycoon Ross to take control of the coffee business by wiping out all the competition via satellite. After Superman destroys their plan, Ross makes Gus figure out how to find kryptonite to eliminate Superman, but he uses tar as the missing element. This causes an unusual effect on Superman. Meanwhile, Gus gets his machine he wanted built that can do anything you want it to do, which I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit too.
I thought it was fuck. Sorry.
I got some taglines for this movie. If the world's most powerful computer can control even Superman, no one on Earth is safe. Alexander Selkin presents Christopher Reeve and Richard Pryor as you've never seen them before, with more action, more twists, and more fun than Superman has ever had before. That's a lie. This time is going to be the best time of all. That was a lie. This time the Man of Steel really has his hands full. I thought that was a lie. From Superman to Super Mean to Super Machine, the ultimate deathmatch times 3. The world's superhero in his toughest adventure yet. Superman versus the king of computerized crime? Fuck you.
It was awesome that Richard Pryor learned how to like program computers like with a 30-minute course where his print computer program was
That was one of my notes. Is he was learning a basic. So his computer programming class was basic,
And the guy was
and he became a
floored by-
mastermind.
He was floored by it. The guy came over. He's like, "How did you do that?" I said, "Go to 10, run, print."
It was insane that was...
My first
yeah.
note is actually, I'm sure you're going to get into the cast of this movie, but my first note is, why is Richard Pryor in this movie?
I'll tell you in a few minutes why Richard Pryor's in this movie. Ready?
Oh.
All right,
I want to know.
I'm going to tell you. The cast that start off with Christopher Reeve. He played Clark Kent and Superman. He played both.
Oh my God!
Wait, well, no, but they were on the screen together at one point.
He plays both.
How did they do that?
But they
Special
were both.
effects. They do the special
I'd like to go on
effects.
record and say I didn't see any special effects in this movie.
Terrible,
There were no
terrible green
special
screen.
effects in
My
this
green
movie.
screening is better than
When they were in Pisa, I was like, these guys
Oh,
are
my
in guys are in
goodness.
Vancouver right now. They're not in Pisa.
That was just so ridiculous. Ugh. He died young, 2004, age 52 from heart failure. But he had
well,
what
you
was
know,
he?
last couple
Was he,
last decade or so.
he was
quadriplegic,
right? Yeah.
paralyzed from the neck down. Yeah. from a
And that was some horse
riding.
equestrian event. The horse was supposed to jump and it didn't.
His top 4 is all Superman.
Oh, it's not Time After Time or whatever that time travel movie he did.
That other awful
It was 3
movie.
Superman. It was the 3 Superman movies minus Superman 2.
What?
Which was a good one.
The best one.
And Somewhere in Time is the other
Somewhere
one.
in Time. Okay. With Jane Seymour?
I don't think I saw
Big
that.
question mark. I don't remember. It's something to do with time travel, but like time travel in a love story kind of way.
It's crap.
Awful.
As I was watching this, I couldn't believe that Superman 2 was in the same world as this. I was like, how can Superman 2 be so good and this movie be this god awful?
I had the same thought saying, like, you have at this point like 40 years of Superman comics to build upon.
Mm-hmm.
You can take Brainiac or Bizarro or Mr. Mxyzptlk or Metallo, and you're just gonna be like black computer programmer and a guy that's not Lex Luthor but wants to rule the world kind of thing. And
Guy from
just do
Basketball.
that.
Let's get
Yeah,
him.
Basketball. Oh, it's like they didn't even try.
No.
They didn't even try.
Lorelai was hot, though.
She was hot and super smart too, but
Pamela Stevenson.
closeted smart.
Richard Pryor played Gus Gorman. Died in 2005 at the age of 65 from a heart attack. He had muscular dystrophy or MS, right?
MS,
right? His top 4 includes Superman 3.
Well, we did the toy earlier. Was he in the toy? I mean, is the toy part of his
No, but you should be able to get his
That was
other.
better than this movie.
Silver Streak or Stir Crazy?
Stir Crazy, yes.
JoJo Dancer.
No.
Dancer. Good one.
I thought it would have been a good one.
Live on Sunset Strip or one of his
No.
stand-ups.
Bustin' Loose.
Bustin' Loose. Wow. I don't think that's his top 4.
And the other one you should have got. See
Oh, wait.
No evil, hear no evil.
Oh, the other
yeah.
G. Wilder one.
Yep.
Yes, I'm fucking deaf.
And now
One of my all-time favorite
Margot
lines.
Kidder was third billed in this, even though she only had a few minutes of screen time.
But Christopher Reeve was first billed in this for the first time ever because he was always like behind Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman and stuff like that. So, yeah. So Margot Kidder.
Lois Lane, 2018, she died at age 69, suicide by a self-inflicted drug and alcohol overdose.
She looked a little rough in this.
They called it suicide. I don't remember that being a suicide.
Oh, really?
I do.
I remember her dying, but I don't remember them calling it a suicide.
You want to try her top 4?
The only thing non-Superman related I can remember her in was Amityville Horror.
And that is in there, along with Superman, Superman 2, and Black Christmas. Which I don't know.
Oh,
that one.
wow.
Wasn't she in 30 Rock, too?
I never watched
I never
30
watched
Rock.
that. Yeah.
I can't remember.
But I'm going to tell you why Richard Pryor was in Superman 3 now.
Because of the cocaine money.
Christopher Reeve made for Superman 1 he made $250,000. Superman 2 he made $500,000. For this movie here, Superman 3 he made $1 million. Margot Kidder made $700,000 for this movie. She was
Wait,
only in for a few minutes.
She made $750,000 and
$700,000.
700 and Superman made a million.
Richard Pryor for this movie made $4 million.
Get the
Damn.
Christopher Reeve's agent is terrible. Terrible.
Richard Pryor made $4 million.
Although I
for
have to
this
say,
movie.
Richard Pryor was the best thing in this movie, but
Yeah.
but he shouldn't be. He should not. Superman should be the best thing in this movie. Wow, Superman only getting $1 million compared to
$4 million. That's insane.
He needed to hire Margot Kidder's agent.
Yeah, right. I just want to be on screen for 5 minutes and give me
$700,000.
$300 million. Or
Two scenes. She was in two scenes.
Yes.
$750,000. Sorry, not 300 million.
And then you got playing Perry White was Jackie Cooper.
I know he was a little rascal.
I was
back
going
in
to
the
say
day.
that's what I know him from as a little rascal.
I mean, I don't know him as that, but I
Didn't
know
he beat
after-
his kids or something?
Oh, I don't think he did.
I don't know.
if
I don't think
that
that was Bing Crosby you're thinking of.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But Jackie
back then, everybody
Cooper's
beat
top
their kids,
4 was
right?
all Superman. All 4 Superman.
Okay. But I remember like when Superman 1 came out, my mom being like, oh, he's in Little Rascals. I'm like, what?
Yep.
But he's an old man. And she's like, yeah, but those were done a long time ago. I was like,
I don't
But
get
he's an old
that.
man.
I don't get it. Playing Jimmy Olsen was Mark McClure. Now, you should be able to get something that he was in.
The other Supermans.
Damn.
Other than that, you can't.
I'll be angry with myself when you tell me.
He plays Marty McFly's older brother.
That's
Back to the Future.
Of course.
And he was also in Apollo 13.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember him that
You're
much in
right,
that
he
one.
is
but
I don't think I
Marty's
saw
older
Apollo
brother.
13.
Marty's older brother.
Damn, that sucks.
Playing Lana Lang. Do you know who that was?
Annette Toole.
Annette
O'Toole.
O'Toole. You know who she's married
She's
to, right?
O'Toole.
I mentioned this on the podcast.
Peter.
Peter Brady? Peter
O'Toole.
Peter O'Toole. That's not even her dad.
No, do
Right,
you
it's
know
not
who
her
she's
dad,
married
right?
to? I mentioned it on the podcast.
She is married to. I don't want to have dead air me thinking, so I'm going to say I don't remember.
Hope get that out of there. Don't worry about it. You erase that, right? The
Oh,
dead
yeah.
air.
That air I do look for.
Michael McKean.
Get the hell out of here. Well, I'm glad you said it because I wouldn't
Michael
remember that.
McKean.
That must have been during the Clue.
I think it might have been during Clue when I mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Do you want to
That's-
try?
Are
her
they
top
still
four?
married? Are they like?
Yeah, they're still married.
So they've been married for like forever. They're like a real couple.
They're a real couple. Yeah.
I'm really happy for
Yeah,
them.
that's my favorite Hollywood couple. I think.
I like that. Her top 5 or 4.
Superman 3 is in her top 4.
Clue.
She's not. In
She's
Clue.
not in Clue.
that's
He's in
right.
Clue.
He's in Clue.
I know she was in Smallville. She played like Martha Kent in Smallville, but
That's not there. No,
uh,
it's 3 movies.
yeah.
A Mighty Wind.
Oh.
That's maybe she met Michael McKean there.
She could have met
That's
him
a
there, too.
Christopher Guest movie. So.
48 Hours.
Fuck, we talked about her in 48 Hours. She's one of the hookers that they go to visit. The bad guys. They go to visit her
And Cat
I-
People.
Cat People. I don't know. I think she might have been
It's
topless.
Natasha
in,
Kinski and Cat People.
Damn.
Mm.
Yeah, we talked about her when we did 48 Hours. Bad on us.
Playing
Look at you, Brian. Bad on us.
Playing
sorry.
Vera was Annie Ross.
God, I don't know what she was in. I'm sorry.
She was in Throw Mama from the Train and Pump Up the Volume. That's a Christian Slater flick out there for you, Dana.
She wasn't the mama though, right? Was she a different mama?
She wasn't Throw Mama. She wasn't Mama. No,
No, she definitely wasn't.
you know who the Mama was.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
the
yeah,
lady
yeah,
from
yeah.
Goonies. Yeah.
But wow, I'm trying to think of her and Throw Mama from the Train, but
She was also in that movie Shortcuts. I never saw that.
Nope.
Up next was your girl Lorelai, played by Pamela Stevenson.
She was really hot. For 1983, she'd be hot right now.
She was hot. It was funny when they were showing Jimmy Olsen's pictures from the opening montage scene, that terrible opener where it was just like cleavage shots of her and stuff like that.
Did you know she was in History of the World Part 1 as Mademoiselle Rimbaud?
Is that what character is that? Is
I
that
don't know. She plays
I have to
Mademoiselle
imagine
Rimbaud.
that's the one where Mel Brooks is hitting on her.
I
and
think so. And she
it's
had
good to be the
she had
king.
real big breasts.
Is that
in
the
his face
daughter?
kinda
Like, is that
thing.
the daughter of the guy she's trying to rescue? I have to go back and look at that now.
We should watch that. I think that was 81, so we might need to revisit that just as a maybe have a special guest on or something to do History of the World Part 1, and
Kevin,
we could do
Jason's talking to
we
you.
could do
Come on
History of the
for
World
History of the
Part
World.
2 because I did watch that on Hulu.
I haven't finished
I
it.
watched some of that. I stopped watching it.
It was
but
okay. I mean, it's something new.
They should have done a movie, made an hour and a half.
And up next was
Cut the fat.
oh wait, you want to try her top 4? Her rest of her top 4 was Superman 3, Not the 9 O'Clock News, and Funny Man.
Not the
Was that an
9 o'clock-
HBO show? Not the.
No, you're thinking of not necessarily the news.
Oh,
that's right.
That was a good show. Bobby Vaughn played Ross Webster.
Before.
He died in 2016, age 83, from acute leukemia. I wouldn't call something that kills you cute.
Robert
No.
Vaughn's that far down in the list?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
how do you get acute leukemia? Just happened like
Has a
right
little-
here.
little
Happened right
bow.
here.
The Magnificent Seven, Bullet,
Man from
Superman
Uncle.
3, and The Towering Inferno.
Not the Man from Uncle. Like
No,
wasn't that
but-
like the TV show that he was known for?
The Towering Inferno is a great flick.
Yeah, but I wouldn't think of
another
him
one we
being
should
in
do.
that.
That's a big cast. That's like a Love Boat like cast.
Poseidon Adventure cast.
Yeah. The last I have for the cast, I have Gavin O'Herlihy, and he played Brad.
I know what he was in. Well,
Brad died in 2021.
dead? Damn.
Age 70.
Wow, I had no idea
It
he was
says
dead.
undisclosed what he died from. What do you know him from?
Well, he'll be soon in Never Say Never Again, the next James Bond movie we're going to do, the Sean Connery James Bond movie. But more famously, he is Chuck Cunningham, the forgotten third Cunningham child on Happy Days. And as soon as I saw him, as soon as I saw him in this, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot Chuck Cunningham was in this. I think I knew this back then. Like,
people think that, like, what did he ever do? He did Superman 3.
And Never Say Never Again. He did the shittiest James Bond and the shittiest Superman movie. He should have stayed up.
Claim to fame.
He should have stayed up in the attic.
That's all I had for the cast. Did you have anybody else from the cast you wanted to talk about?
I might, as we go along, I have to call my notes now.
I might have him later on too as we go through and get to our high scores here.
There were people in this that I was trying to like, that's got to be somebody. That's got to be somebody. Like in the first scene where that terrible introduction, which was so insulting to like, you've done Superman 1 and you've done Superman 2, two great comic book movies, and now you're going to do this stupid introduction where it's
like a Jerry Lewis movie.
Yeah, well, it felt like what do you call the thing with the gears that do the thing? And
you got to break the egg.
A Rube Goldberg kind of thing, like where it was just the penguins on fire and the blind guy that grabbed the line maker. I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, what? This is a Superman movie.
He thought that was real. Like he kept walking in a circle, like he thought that was his cane. How did he think that was his
But
cane?
I thought like the guy the old man that fell into the hole and then get the pie in his face later. I'm like,
he steps right on his head.
I was like, that guy's got to be somebody. He's got to be a somebody. But I looked him up. He was a nobody. And the guy that thought he was getting rained on, but the paint was just dry. He put his umbrella up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I thought he was Mr. Pitt at first. And it wasn't Mr. Pitt. And I was like, he's just a guy. Like, and he was gentlemanly guy in the credits or whatever it was. But
the only part of that
I wanted to turn the movie off at that point. When that scene ended,
it went on for so long.
When that scene ended, I was like, "Fuck this movie! Nothing's it's terrible now. It's terrible now."
Yeah.
Oh, so mad.
I did get a laugh though when Clark Kent bent over to blow out. To blow the fire off of the penguin, and then he put it back.
And they just let it go walking back into traffic. Because I actually wrote down one laugh, the pie in the face, because he stops the pie from hitting the blonde, whatever her name is,
Lorelai,
and then smacks it into the guy that had fallen to the hole earlier. And I actually laughed. I was like, oh, that's so terrible. But pies in face are funny. So, so stupid. And it went on forever.
It was ridiculous.
Usually I time those things, but I think by the time it ended, I just didn't care anymore. So,
do you know how many weeks Richard Pryor was unemployed for?
Yeah, I do. I have it right here.
I know too.
Damn it.
36
You guys
weeks.
are going to get with your notes now. You're going to be
well,
able to
because
take away from my trivia
I wrote it down because I'm like, who's unemployed for 36 weeks? You're either 26, 52, like a half a year. They're just like, 36
he had a 10-week extension.
You're done.
Maybe.
You're done.
Maybe you got 2 5-week extensions or something like that.
And it's so funny. I thought that woman, the one that was the unemployment person, was like somebody.
I looked her up. She wasn't anybody. Nancy Roberts.
And she is somebody's sister.
Julia's?
Nah, but like an older Roberts.
Eric's Julia's brother, right?
Time, whatever. I saw it as I was watching the movie. I'm like, who's this chick? She's nobody. She's someone's sister. Doesn't matter. All I could think about was George Costanza when he went to unemployment.
That was a good episode.
Save hand in the light. Save hand in the light in the streets.
Keith Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez.
After Margot Kidder expressed her disgust about the firing of Richard Donner to the producers, her role was cut to 12 lines and less than 5 minutes of screen time. In the film's 2006 documentary, Ilya Salkind, the one of the producers, says that there was little need for Lois Lane in this movie because her relationship with Superman ended at the end of Superman 2.
But he kissed her and erased her mind at the end of Superman 2, so they could start all over again.
She did look at Clark, have that weird look at him all the time.
If Margot Kidder had some kind of career after Superman 2, I'd have been like, good for you. Because fuck these guys, and you got $700,000 to be in this piece of shit movie, but Margot Kidder never did anything again. So
Christopher Reeve was not happy with this film, often expressed in interviews that he hated how it turned out. He initially swore never to play the role again, but was persuaded to play Superman 4 in exchange for more input on the script.
And where was his input on this? Maybe
No,
not
for 3.
Oh, for 4.
For 4. Yeah,
I saw Superman 4.
Back, yeah.
Spoiler alert, that's worse than this.
No.
Oh, Quest for Peace?
I think 3 is worse than 4.
You guys have not seen Superman 4 in a while.
I haven't seen it. No.
That is a ridiculous steaming pile of shit. With Gene Hackman comes back as Lex Luthor, and John Cryer
I have
is
a
like
really good story to tell you.
John Cryer is like his nephew. He's like Lenny Luthor or something stupid like that.
Does John Cryer bald in it?
I don't think he's bald. I don't think he is, but I haven't seen that in forever. But what's her face? One of the Margot Hemingway's in it.
Oh, Mariel Hemingway. Right?
Yeah, she's in it too. Yeah.
Wait, now that I'm thinking about it, he might be right.
Yeah,
4 might be worse.
It is terrible.
All I'm thinking about is Star 80 now.
But it's funny because
that's on our list, isn't it? Or did we miss that last year? Star 80.
I don't know. I don't know.
I can't remember if that was on our
list. But in Superman 4, he moves the moon to block the sun, so the nuclear man, the bad guy, like doesn't. He moves the fucking moon. In this movie, he couldn't even like.
Listen to what this movie could have been.
No, listen
to what this movie could have been.
This movie's dog shit anyway, but like he moves the moon in the next one.
All right, let's talk about 3 first. Christopher Reeve threatened not to return for this film to protest Richard Donner's firing, and because he hated the script. With the film already in pre-production, the producers scrambled to find an actor to play Superman. John Travolta was approached but declined. Jeff Bridges and Kurt Russell were also considered, but they weren't interested. Wait for this. Ready for it?
Oh, wait. Can we guess?
Yeah. A few days before filming was set to begin, the Salkinds settled on blank as Clark Kent, Superman. Richard Lester was mortified with the casting of blank and pleaded to Reeve to return. Reeve eventually agreed if he was allowed to change the script. The producers agreed. Who was that guy that was going to be Clark
Is there any
Kent?
chance we can guess it for real? Like, is it someone
He was a big 80s TV star.
Oh, TV star. Ted Danson.
No, but you have the right initials.
Oh.
Tony Danza?
Yes.
Tony Danza? Oh. You know what? This movie would have been so much better as Tony Danza as, hey, Lois, I'm over here. I am a true justice.
Can you imagine Tony Danza as...
Oh my God, as Superman, that would have been great. I wish that happened.
I had to hold that one in
wish
today
that happened
when we were
too.
talking today. I was like,
I wish that had happened.
I'm glad I held that in.
Oh my God, how much worse would this movie have been if Tony Danza as Superman? Hey, I'm over here now. Not that he says that. Sorry, that's Pacino. But
oh man,
every
I'm so
Italian.
excited. I was so
It's every Italian.
I couldn't wait to tell that
Michelle
story.
said it to me 3 times when we walked in the house today. Oh my God. What could have been?
It's amazing.
That would have been awful. It would have been so much more fun though.
Richard Pryor got this movie by saying something on the Johnny Carson show. He claimed in an interview he was joking, but he said that he always wanted to be in a Superman movie, and that's how the producers approached him.
You know, I don't even know if I have this in my notes, but like I'm not a huge Superman fan. I mean, I read Superman comics when I was young. I was DC kind of when I was young because Super Friends were on TV and stuff like that. But I became Marvel once I got a little older and started reading like X-Men and Hulk and shit like that. But Superman's got a lot of good bad guys. Superman's got like Bizarro and Brainiac and Mr. Mxyzptlk and Metallo and all these great ones.
On Lex Luthor.
And well, they'd already done Luthor in the first 2 and Zod and stuff like that. Like they made up all these bad guys for this movie. They didn't even go to the tried and true, already created bad guys.
And created storylines for you.
Storylines already created, and you're competing against nobody. There's no other fucking superhero movies at this time. They could have had a great bad guy for Superman 3, and instead they had Robert Vaughn as, I guess, the Lex Luthor, and Richard Pryor is like, I don't even know, as Gus, as August. As
Why don't you talk to us about Gus's skiing?
Are we there yet already? So I would just like to discuss first of all, in the scene where he skis down it was a bad idea that Robert Vaughn had that on the top of his penthouse anyway, because bad things can happen anyway. But he didn't have snow boots on, Gus, and he still clipped into the skis.
Yep.
As he was walking up the hill, and then turned around and said, "I don't know how to ski." Why did he put the skis on to begin with? I don't know how to ski. Like, if I don't know how to drive a car, I'm not getting in the car and starting driving away and be like, oh, I don't know how to do this. He put skis on, started walking up the hill, turned around, he's like, I don't know how to ski. Went off the building.
That flimsy wood.
Fell 40 stories.
Yeah.
And hit a declined glass plane at the bottom of the
stopped. Like it didn't hit it and slide.
He landed flat on it.
Yeah.
Well, because there's a lot of energy coming down into that, which probably would have broken the glass or killed him.
He would have squashed.
Or sent his legs into his brain.
And then he just shot out into traffic and doing his Richard Pryor kind of like, but what? Why was that scene there? I don't even understand. Like, Richard Pryor said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this stupid thing because. So I don't know how
running on the water in the toy was more realistic.
It made more sense. Hey, piranhas were chasing him. That made more sense. But this might have encouraged people to jump off buildings with skis and said, well, as long as there's an awning down there aimed at the ground, I should be okay after falling for a quarter of a mile.
He would have just splattered all over that glass.
Or smashed through it.
Yeah, smashed through it, and the metal would have ripped him in half.
Yeah.
Office Space got their idea for
yes, for sure. Yes, they reference Superman 3 in Office Space when they steal the micro pennies or whatever they're doing.
Oh yes, microtransactions.
The original choice to play Ross Webster was Alan Alda.
Oh, I don't think I have an Alan. I was going to try doing Alan Alda, but I can't do an Alan Alda.
But the executive producer said in the DVD commentary that his choice was Frank Langella.
No, I like Robert Vaughn, so I'm not going to say that Frank Langella is better, but
could have been
I like Frank Langella too. But he wouldn't have made this better or worse.
The movie's bad itself.
This movie did not fail on Robert Vaughn being in the movie. It wasn't
one actor that could save this movie.
Did you know that when Richard Pryor's at the unemployment office and he asks the dude for a cigarette and he gets the idea to join the computer programming class, did you see what the phone number was?
No.
Because it says, become a computer programmer. Just call. I wrote it down so I didn't get it wrong.
Now you can't find it?
Oh, no, I'm looking right at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That was the phone number. Oh, fuck. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I was like, obviously that was a placeholder kind of number. And they said, nobody
go with it.
Gives a fuck. Leave that number in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the 1, 2, 3 were like in the area code thingamajiggies, and then parentheses. And then
there was one scene in the beginning. They said something to Jimmy about his friends being in high school. He said, "All my friends are in high school." So Jimmy's still in high school in this,
or he hangs out with
high school.
Like,
kids,
was he?
Right?
He was like one of those seniors that hung out with freshmen.
Was he the Matthew McConaughey from Days of
I keep
Confused?
getting older. They stay the same age.
I want to talk about the frozen lake.
I got a note about the frozen lake.
What did you think about the physics?
As I said, we can do an entire podcast about the science of this.
I have 2 notes about the frozen lake.
Okay, what do you got?
But first of all, it dropped a giant thing of ice that should have just killed everybody.
Or if it melted,
broke.
If it melted,
it broke as he was carrying it too.
Yeah, there was no way it would have held together.
Yeah. If it melted, it would have just melted and fallen down in water. It wouldn't have created rain.
If it was
had rain.
Yeah, if it was that hot to do that.
Like a giant blob of water would have just
if it was that hot that it melted it before it hit the ground, it would have just vaporized.
Yeah. And maybe like put out a little bit, but it caused rain. Yes. But yeah, the physics of him picking up a gigantic sheet of ice. I mean, if we froze this table right here and I picked up just the end of this frozen thing, that side would break off. There's just no just
you're gonna have a little piece in your hand.
Just because he's Superman, maybe if he had flown underneath and picked up from the middle,
because it wasn't that thick,
but it was long.
Yeah.
It was long, and that whole part was snapped off.
This has been Science with the exciting new podcast.
Well, here I have another note about that too. It says Superman picked up a lake full of ice without blinking, but he struggled when he went to pick up himself, Clark, after they fought.
Well, you know, when Clark has to do the act, then he can't.
He got hit.
Oh, did I mention that John Williams' music's not in the beginning there? We talked about that already, right? Yeah. Richard Pryor's first paycheck was how much, and should have been how much?
$243.
He expected to get 225, but he got like 143. So I did the math. All I did was 225 divided by 40, and that's like that's $5.50 an hour. I'm like, can you live in Metropolis in 1983 on?
Do you know what his first
hour?
expense check was worth?
Was that the $85,000 he got or whatever?
$85,789.90.
Excellent.
Do you know what they called Metropolis? What its nickname was instead of?
Oh, I do. I wrote it down.
I wrote that one down too.
The big apricot or something like that. I was going to laugh out loud about that. The big apricot.
I was going to ask you guys, is that used anywhere else in DC?
I have never heard that term before. So this movie came out in 1983.
Oh man, it's
so it's supposed to be in 1983. Clark goes back to his 20th anniversary from 1965.
Yeah.
So that's 1985. Yep. And then they show the
Brad
LA.
Wilson was all state in 1964.
He was indeed. They showed the Summer Olympics in LA in 1984. This movie's it doesn't even know what year it's happening. They're just like, no one gives a shit. Come on, just churn it out.
One of the first notes I have is when they show up at the chemical plant and Jimmy wants to sneak in.
My God, please read my top note right there. Just go. Go. I say Jimmy sneaks in by running right past the cop.
The cop looks at him.
He looks at him when they're sneaking, when they're crouched down behind the car. The cop's looking right at them. And then Jimmy's like, cover me. And he runs right by the guy. And the cop's like, huh? It's another dead body, I guess.
When Superman picked up Ricky, when he picked up Ricky when he picked him up out of the field,
yeah.
how he was flat as a board. Like his legs, it's like they moved.
Do you think they didn't have a real kid there?
I don't think
because it must have been like a wire thing.
Yeah.
The wiring in this was awful, by the way.
And I wanted to talk about the bowling scene, the bowling ball, how he sneezed and made it like a strike, but like. You destroyed the pins. Like how does that?
So now I guess we're done.
How does that look?
Sorry, I guess we're just done.
How does that fake everybody?
Because in bowling, you have to you reuse the pins.
Get reused.
Someone's got to. All right, I guess we're done with this lane. The kid that played Ricky, by the way,
Lane 11 is now
that
closed.
Kid, I mean, I get kid actor, whatever, but he was fucking dreadful.
Oh.
Like every time he said something,
Mr. Kent.
Yeah, he gave the look like kind of like, oh, I guess I just said a line.
And when he wasn't talking, he just stood still in the corner, like he had no idea where to stand or how to put his hands.
I'm sure he's very successful today, but
I'm sure
acting was not his thing.
He didn't make it.
I've written down Ricky is a god-awful actor and should have been hit by the Threshers.
And it was so funny how like Clark or Superman stops the Thresher and then gives the guy a look like, you almost killed this kid. It's like the kid's fucking lying unconscious in a wheat field. And why are they picnicking in a bunch of wheat anyway?
Yeah.
You picnic on the top of a hill. You had a nice scenic overlook.
Weird place.
They're like in a valley where all sorts of nonsense and mayhem can happen. And the Threshers are going.
Yeah.
Maybe you should be like, we got the fucking dog running around. Maybe we should not have the picnic by the Thresher. And no one ever questions. I mean, this is getting to the whole meta stupid Superman thing. Like, Superman just happens to be in Smallville at the same time Clark is to save the kid.
There's I got the filmography for Paul Kathler.
Is that the
Ricky.
kid? Okay.
He was in Superman 3 and the making of Superman 3.
And they said, and you'll be not making anything else.
That's it.
He was a really shitty child actor. And it's really surprising that, I mean,
he's even got a picture for his IMDb.
For his making of. This movie was so obviously made on the cheap, and I guess was that the first kid that showed up at auditions. Like,
they're like,
he's like 10-ish.
Okay, the camera guy's son. I just saw him walking in the parking lot.
Hey, John, you want to be in this movie? What? I did like
the budget for this movie was $39 million. You know how much it made opening weekend?
$39 million.
$13 million.
That's
the final gross was $59 million worldwide.
And yet they made a fourth.
Yeah.
Poof.
They made back $20 million over budget, but you figured they had to like market it and everything, right? So
Damn, we got lost.
Don't get lost.
One of mine is Superman. He flies so slow.
Well, he also
And
like,
it's, as he's like coming in the land, it's like
they showed a lot of landings, obviously wire work landing stuff, but there's so much of Gus explaining what Superman was doing in this movie where they just kind of Gus is, oh, and then he did the thing. And then you see Superman kind of in the background doing the thing. They didn't want to spend all the money on the special effects. So they're just like, we'll explain what no one wants to see Superman doing shit. They'd rather hear Richard Pryor explaining what he's doing. That makes much more sense. And I guess they're paying Richard Pryor 5 times what they're paying Superman. So maybe that makes sense that we'd rather hear Richard Pryor doing that.
Clark, can I tell you something? My oil pan is leaking.
There were so many of those. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, well, you know what? I'm here for you. No, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing right here. There were so many of those misdirection kind of dialogue-y, shitty.
Trying way too hard.
When they were dancing at the reunion, I said, it would have been funny if Clark ripped Lana's arms off by accident.
You know, he's super powerful. He can't be perfect with that all the time. It would be funny if he would just like murder someone by accident. Oh, whoopsie. Maybe I'll just turn the world around and we'll go back in time and I'll undo it.
Is about an hour and 30 minutes in, you could see a poster in the background of a junkyard fight scene. Do you know what that poster was?
Superman fighting? No, I did not pick up on that at all.
There's a Blade Runner poster back there.
Wow.
Excellent. Wow, it's only the year after Blade Runner came out. Those junkyard guys were hip. Brian, I wanted to ask you specifically, because this might involve your current profession and stuff like that, but the networking of these computers in 1983, today, in 2023, 40 years later, am I able to type into a government satellite that predicts the weather and control the weather using that?
Yeah, that just happens to have lasers
it has
on
a
it.
laser that will like affect a weather that's never been done before. The 225 mile an hour winds, which I would imagine would like kill everybody in the area. But the fact that Gus with his basic 10 run 20 print like is so basic.
That's one of my
computer skills.
I just don't understand.
Richard Pryor just types what he wants and the computers magically do it for him. That's his genius.
When the guy came over and looked over his shoulder and said, "Oh my God, how'd you do that?" You saw a bunch of lines that just said print, 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 print. I just kept typing print over and over again.
And he designed that supercomputer. When did he learn engineering?
Yeah, with all his napkins and empty cigarette cartons and stuff.
I had
like
the Leaning Tower of Pisa scene when the guy yells at Superman.
Yeah.
He says Stronzo. You know,
I don't know what Stronzo.
I looked up what Stronzo means in Italian.
You're too strong.
It means asshole.
Oh. That was also some of the worst blue screen work in this entire movie. Like those guys were obviously in a studio in Hollywood.
Oh,
and
man.
Put Pisa behind them. No one cares. But every time they moved, you could see that like kind of
that effect,
blue screen wobble kind of next to their heads. And why? So that's the one thing he destroyed an oil tanker and he straightened Pisa. That's what Superman's doing with his time? Like a bad Superman?
I'm going to be a dick. I'm going to straighten out.
If you're going to be a dick, be a real dick. Like go, like, you know, if you can move the moon, as they will prove in the next movie, just grab the moon and throw it at Earth and kill everybody or something like that. Straightening Pisa is like an annoyance.
Yeah,
because I've been to Pisa.
Richard Pryor
ain't nothing special.
Richard Pryor admits in his autobiography that he only did this for the money.
Good for him. Do you know what Laura Lee, what's her name?
Lorelai.
What her occupation was?
Pamela Stevenson?
In the movie.
Psychical.
Yeah. Well,
I rewound it because I was like, did I hear that correctly? Psychic nutritionist.
Oh, that's it.
I don't think there's ever been another psychic nutritionist since then. Maybe Tobias Fouquet was a analyst therapist, the anorapist.
Jennifer Jason Leigh was originally set to star as Lana Lang, but she turned down the role because she was too young.
Oh, Well, she was only a year past Fast Time at this point, I guess.
Yeah, I think she looked too young for.
Well, to
Christopher
play
Reeve. Yeah.
a 40-year-old because they're supposed to be 20 years out of high school here, right? Yeah. And it was funny because they showed the pictures of them from high school. First of all, you have an obviously Clark Kent without glasses, big giant picture, kind of looks like Superman in that picture, but you also had Lana Lang in those pictures, and they had different people playing them in the earlier in Superman 1 when he's like first becoming Superboy, I guess. So they I don't know, whatever. But Clark Kent with no glasses kind of looks like Superman.
He didn't even try and change his voice.
Oh, and I don't know. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but bad Superman. I guess he didn't care about doing laundry anymore because his Superman suit got a lot darker, and he started getting like gray hair on the sides, or he didn't dye his hair anymore.
And he had the 5 o'clock shadow.
Well, that's obviously bad guy stuff. That goes back to like Star Trek in the Mirror Universe where they had goatees. Yeah. Goatees means evil, so 5 o'clock shadow means kind of evil. I'll straighten your Leaning Tower of Pisa and just break a bunch of bottles with nuts.
I have a note here saying that he was thanked for that whole chemical plant thing, that if it had exploded would have destroyed half the country.
They said that
tiny
cloud
little.
But I gotta say I did like the foreshadowing with that acid. That's what he had to use at the end.
That's how he tricked it.
Yeah, because it was neutral or whatever.
Here's five attributes to make this a unique Christopher Reeve Superman movies. He says, this is the only one to not have opening credits in space.
Okay.
The only one without any nuclear weapons. In Superman 78, Lex Luthor steals missiles with the intent of detonating. Superman 2, you have the atomic bomb to freeze the villains from the Phantom Zone. And the plot in Superman Quest for Peace is about Superman ridding Earth of nuclear weapons. 3, this is the only one in which Gene Hackman, Susanna York, and John Hollis do not appear. 4, the only one not to have the Fortress of Solitude. And 5, the only one not to have romance scenes with Superman, Clark Kent, and Lois Lane.
This is also the only one that has toy penguins on fire walking around.
Yeah. And if Gus were to steal half a cent from every employee, and he collects $85,000 every time his first week,
I guess it means he had
a paycheck.
Is that 1.6 million or
17 million employees?
17.
It's the biggest company in the world.
Oh man, that's great. At least just say this is your first month. Or
do you know what that scam's called? Do you know what that's a real scam? I mean, it's called salami slicing. Like, because you're just cutting a little piece off, a little piece. No one's going to notice. A
little slice off the top
until the salami's all gone. By the way, salami, awesome meat.
Oh, it's so good.
I love salami.
Big fan.
This is the 12th biggest grossing film in North America in 1983.
That's bad. That a Superman movie's 12th highest grossing. I mean, you got Jedi and you got a couple James Bonds, but you should be in the conversation. You shouldn't be 12th. You shouldn't be behind.
For a Superman movie, the only superhero movie of its time.
Yeah. You shouldn't be behind what have we done recently that we hated?
Everything.
Octopussy. We like Blue Thunder.
But Blue Thunder shouldn't be above Superman. But
what's that? I can't say. Oh, Class.
I did write down that the best part of this movie was Richard Pryor just being Richard Pryor. Yeah. Like when he
was mad. He didn't want to be. He wanted to be taken more serious. He was hoping to get serious roles after this film.
This obviously was not that movie. But when he goes, when he breaks into the tiny computer, that when he gets Brad drunk, and he said I have to install this, and he opened a briefcase of booze. Like what was he installing exactly? But anyway, he gets him drunk and he goes in and he's got Brad drunk and he's passed out and he goes walking in and there's a mirror there and he sees a reflection in the mirror. He just jumps. Oh! I don't know. I laughed at that part. I was like, Richard Pryor acting like Richard Pryor. I thought that was funny.
Christopher Reeve asked his father not to watch this film or Superman 4.
Do you know Christopher Reeve, his mom was fuck. I pass. My buddies Bruce and Brent, their stepmother was siblings with Christopher Reeve. I don't remember exactly the
really?
connection and stuff like that, but Bruce and Brent's dad married Barbara Johnson's step sister, I think, and Barbara Johnson's Christopher Reeve's mom. So I remember like when we were growing up and they got married, and I was like, "What are you doing this weekend?" He's like, "Going to my dad's house." I'm like, Is Superman going to be there? They're like, dude, Superman's never going to be there. I'm like, but it's like the step something. No, we can't see Superman.
What's the opposite of Christopher Reeve?
I don't know. What?
Christopher Walken.
Ooh, fuck. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I never heard that.
I never did. I can't believe I never heard that.
Oh, we're all going to hell.
Nah.
Because that was funny. I got a note about the invisible shield that wasn't so invisible.
Oh, yeah. What
The
about
buttons that said invisible shield, there's a big giant blob around them. And also, I'd like to know what programming Richard Pryor was doing when he was trying to do the weather satellite and everything was going bonkers in the world. What did he do to program the walk, not walk sign? Starts fighting.
What about the keys at the same time? Right?
Oh, that was great when he tied Brad's arm and did that. But that intersection where the walk, don't walk was, no one was walking. There were 4 corners of people not walking and 4 ways of cars not going. So no one was going anywhere. And then he put the green on for a walk and everybody walked. That can't possibly be the way that should have gone.
He's breaking into every computer system by accident.
Well, is he just hunting and pecking for that Vulcan satellite? And I got Metropolis's traffic computer.
This was heavy into his cocaine addiction at this time, Richard Pryor.
I would have thought this would already be. This is past like freebase and blow up.
He was
and stuff
heavily
like
into
that,
his cycle of cocaine addiction right now.
You know who else was into cocaine in this movie? Everybody else that was in this movie,
I don't think
including Ricky.
I don't think Annette O'Toole.
Annette O'Toole and Ricky were doing bumps in between scenes.
No way, Annette O'Toole wasn't.
This was. Everybody was doing this.
Neither was Jackie Cooper.
Everybody was doing this.
He
movie
was sober.
For coke
Jackie
money.
Cooper was sober by then.
Everybody was doing this movie for coke money.
Oh, I got another note about the invisible shield. They were trying to make him run out of air. It's like he flies around in space.
Yeah,
He was choking from not having air in the invisible shield, but he can fly up into space with no problem.
it was so funny how confident they were about. Oh, we'll just kill Superman because I think Robert Vaughn says that at one point. He's like,
he said, "What do you mean you didn't do it?
I asked you to kill Superman, and you can't do this one simple thing. Like the guy's indestructible, and you can't kill him."
Well, I am ready to give scores when you.
Oh, really? Wait.
So you guys got notes.
Let me.
Yeah, I have two other things.
Good. I'm glad you guys got some more stuff.
One is on the subway. Like people immediately started screaming when the lights went out.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I've ridden subways when the lights go out and
no one
nobody
reacts.
cares.
Yeah.
You got to think Manhattan is the same as a stand-in for Metropolis, right? They showed Statue of Liberty. They showed the
That's
Chrysler
my other
building.
note. Metropolis looks a lot like New York City.
I mean, they established that in the first one. They were when he was flying with Lois Lane, that whole stupid "you can read my mind" thing, and they fly by the statue.
You could read my mind, girl.
They say something about.
That's a shout out to Gordon Lightfoot, who just passed away recently.
There you go. They say that Colombia's got 2 exports. It's so funny. They're like, we got to affect the coffee exports from Colombia. Colombia's got 2 exports, but they never say what the other export is.
I'm gonna think
but
it's
everybody
what-
else in the set,
But everybody
knew
was using on the set, right?
in the set knew what it was.
My last thing is Gus got away scot-free. Why?
Well, because he helped him at the end, I guess.
Yeah, but he
Yeah,
still
but he did
caused all
he did a
of
lot of
that.
bad shit.
Yeah.
He wanted money.
Oh,
Like,
also
he was
when
stealing.
when he was doing the programming thing, and the guy got the shopping bill for like $180,000 and squished the grapefruit in the lady's face. I'm like, he's currently doing this computer work. How did that bill get to him so fast? That had to go through the mail, get to them, him open it, and squirt the grapefruit in his face.
Might have
Like,
sent it first class. Priority.
Jason and I work in this industry. We're not shipping or we're not mailing stuff that fast.
Some good notes this week, man. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I took
Oh,
a
so
lot.
this is maybe a little bit more nerdy, but just Superman nerd stuff. But like the thing that makes Kryptonite poisonous to Superman is its irradiated kryptonite. It's from the planet that, like, you know, if Earth blows up tomorrow and you hand me a piece of Earth, it's not killing me. I lived on it, but it's been irradiated now. So just knowing what kryptonite's made of doesn't make it poisonous to Superman, the tar notwithstanding. Although the number one thing that Krypton was made of was plutonium. So I guess that is maybe why it is poisonous to Superman. But I was just kind of like
That's
frustrated
also
why
the
they
DeLorean ran on that.
That's true.
Plutonium was big in the 80s. Everything had plutonium in it, Krypton and the DeLorean. But I just thought it was kind of frustrating that it's just like, oh yeah, we'll just make kryptonite. Oh. And he used a computer again to like deep space. Like, oh, we'll just focus it at the place like Krypton exploded. If Jupiter exploded tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to just like,
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
There.
oh,
The Xeno Galaxy is what they
this thing
shot it at.
exploded at a place that no one knows where. It wasn't like Superman got there and was like, oh yeah, my planet blew up, and it's like right over in that space right there. So everybody can just focus your satellites there, and if you need to know what it blew up at, and yeah.
I looked up one of the elements that the kryptonite was made of because I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
The dilithium,
Okay.
and it does not exist. There is no such.
That's no
It's
fun.
so funny that you looked that up, because I looked up when Robert Vaughn was talking about all the countries that produce coffee, and he's like, you know, he's like Colombia and Venezuela and Brazil, and then he's like, I didn't write it down because I thought it was made up. It's like Congo. I'm like, well, that's just stupid. Why would they make up a name like that? And I looked it up, and it was actually a real country in Africa. And I was like, oh, though.
I thought, yeah, like Guyana.
But it wasn't a name I'd ever heard of
Yeah.
before. So I was just kind of like, why would they just make up a country name like that where they just
Like
name
Chad-
like
like
5 other
Chad.
countries?
Like Chad.
I went to college with a guy named Chad. What's up, Chad? You listening now, man? My favorite Richard Pryor was the highlight of this movie for me. My favorite non-Richard Pryor
Mine was
line in
Annette
this movie.
O'Toole.
Well,
My highlight.
Annette O'Toole had my favorite non-Richard Pryor line in this movie, because when Brad calls her up at home, he's like, you want to go out tonight? And she's like, no, I got plans. And he's like, you want to go out tomorrow night? And she's like, no, I got plans. He's like, what? And she's like, I'll think of something. That's great. I'll think of something. Damn, I fucking hate. Oh, Superman's a Johnny Walker Red fan. I like that. He's drinking scotch. I wrote JWR. I'm like, what the fuck's JWR? I had to read
You're
it to
like
my.
Junior?
I had to read it to myself first. I'm like, what's JWR mean? And I said he doesn't dye his hair or do laundry when he's bad Superman. And
The 5 o'clock shadow,
Yeah.
too.
you would think if you worked in a industry where you were crushing cars and there was a lot of hazards around, and you had a deadly pool of acid lying around in this area, maybe you put a fence around it. Maybe you do something other than put a sign all the way on the other side that says danger acid, because it was just standing out there in the middle of everywhere. You could walk into it, it could splash, it could
It was there.
just deadly.
And it was ground level.
It was right there. You could just walk right into danger acid. And if you're on the other side of it, or you
have
didn't
no
see the
idea,
sign
yeah.
as you're walking at it, you fall in the acid. I thought that was really bad. I mean, OSHA would have a field
warning
day
it,
on
you're
that
just going
place.
right into it, yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's all my stupid notes.
So who gets to? Did anybody else watch it with you? Did Michelle watch with you? Did
Michelle
you score?
sat right down next. Oh no, that was Octopus. She sat down next to me and fell asleep. Last night at like 10 o'clock, I was like, oh shit, we're doing a podcast tomorrow. I got to watch this movie. So she immediately left the room. I watched like the first half last night. I watched the rest this morning. I woke up to let the
That's why
dogs
you
out.
said now
I'm
I'm
done
ready, yeah.
now at like 6:30. I finished it. So no one else watched this with me. I am giving this movie a very, very lenient 50. It is not that, it's not worthy of a 50, but it's Superman. If you're going to watch Superman 1 and 2, watch this one too, just so you can be like, what the fuck happened here? Like, they had such a good thing going with the first two. Why would they?
the first two were amazing.
Why would they roll out this travesty
Two's awesome.
so quickly?
I love it too.
So quickly after the second one came out, they're just like, fuck it, we'll just throw out some shit. This movie's terrible. 50 is 30 points too high,
Well,
but it's a Superman movie.
Let me do it even better than that. Let me give it a 33 because this movie sucks balls.
I did say it was
dude.
20 points too high. Jason almost gave it 20 points less.
I can't believe
33% for Superman 3.
I was thinking 30. When I initially was watching this, I was thinking 33, but I upped it to a 45.
45, okay.
Just
Because you
because
a
of
record of 33 to a 45.
But Lorelai was just. I mean,
she was
for
hot.
an
Lorelai did
83
that
woman,
much. Lorelai gave it 12 points for him.
Yeah,
This movie is fucking terrible. Like I now think I will never watch Superman 3.
I would
again.
never watch this
And
movie.
I've
Oh, yeah,
watched
I'm
it. I've
never
watched
watching
it
that
like,
again.
I saw this in the theater when I was young. I probably
I'd
saw
love
it like,
to sit down and watch Superman 2 with you.
Oh, I'd watch 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'd want to watch the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 because
I'd be
that's
down for
apparently
that,
different.
yeah.
But this thing is a pile of shit. And having said that, I am preempting my score for Superman 4 if we get to that. I don't know when it comes out,
I think
but
it's 87.
oh, that might take a while. But I'm not giving that a 50. That thing is a fucking this thing is
Ooh, so
Shakespeare.
does that mean I might go into the teens?
This thing is Shakespeare compared to Superman 4. It's amazing how much they fucked up this franchise so fast. They had 40 years of comic books to like mine for good stories, and they're just
Richard
like,
Donner
nah.
would not have made this movie.
No. Oh no.
Richard Donner would not have made this movie.
And Christopher Reeve should not have made this movie either. He should have been like, you know what?
You should have let
Get Tony Danza. He's the boss. Fucking get him. Hey, I am Superman over here.
That's
I don't
the
know.
best-
I don't know why my Tony Danza sounds
that's
like
that's
John
the
Travolta,
best
but-
thing I learned about this movie.
That is awesome.
Tony Danza almost was Superman.
Oh man,
But-
I think this movie would have actually been better with Tony Danza.
Oh, the
'Cause
critics-
at that point you'd just been like, obviously no one gives a fuck.
The critics-
Let's just enjoy it.
The critics gave this a 29 and the audience gave this a 23.
Wow.
Go audience.
Thankfully.
Hateful.
I'm
Yeah.
glad they did.
Yet they made a fourth.
Next
This
week-
is a franchise killer. This
Yeah.
movie.
Next week is either Porky's 2 or Stroke or Ace. After that's War Games. Is that when your buddy wanted to come
Yeah,
on?
that's when Dave wants to come on.
I'm fine with either one.
What do you want to do next week? Porky's 2 or Stroke or Ace?
I think I like both of them.
Pick
I was
one.
thinking actually like maybe Stroke Race is a better movie. So we've seen some shitty movies recently. So
I'm going to do Stroke or
maybe we
Ace.
do Stroke Race because that's actually going to be like,
All right, let me
oh,
see
I
if
like
it's,
this movie.
and I'll see if
I mean, I liked Octopussy, and I thought Blue Thunder was really good. I shouldn't say we've watched shitty movies. We just
I have.
We just watched a shitty movie, and I kind of think that Porky's 2 is a pretty shitty movie. Although I love Porky's 1. I think
You know,
okay,
I mentioned that to Dave today, and he said that Porky's 2 wasn't good. And
yeah,
was like,
I don't remember it being good.
Stroke or Ace is $2.99. We're going to have to rent it.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Usually those comedies that
You can buy it for $9.99.
when the sequel comes out and then there's never a sequel again, you can pretty much guarantee that that sequel
Killed it.
they're like, all right, we're done. We're out of ideas. Okay, so I think Porky's 2 is pretty bad, but
Yeah, I
Stroke
think
Race.
Porky's 2 are going to give it a bad score. You probably bump it up for nudity though.
Yeah,
But
if it's got nudity.
yeah, that's the only positive in it for
what's
Brian,
the
I think.
girl's name in Porky's? The one they hang out with? She's got like a manly kind of like name. Fuck.
Isn't that Kim Cattrall?
Nah, the other one. Whatever. We'll get to it. Sorry.
It's all right.
I fucked
but
it up.
so next week we're gonna do
Stroke Race.
Stroke Race, and before that, Spreaker. Everywhere else you can find us, Spreaker. Go out there, rate, review, subscribe, do all those fun things wherever you get our podcast. Interact with us. We're the Exciting and New Podcast on all our socials. It's the Jazoo on Instagram, Jazoo74 on Twitter. I'm Jason. This has been the Exciting and New Podcast.
I'm AE Gonzo 1 on Twitter, AE Gonzo 1970 on Instagram. My interaction on social media went from 1 to 0 this week.
What?
So let's fucking get on it. I'm Andy.
And I'm Brian, Papa Baghdadi.
I'm so glad we all hated Superman 3. I was a little nervous, like, is someone going to like this movie?